88.1 The Burg, your movie central. Welcome to What to Watch Weekends. My name is Nathan, the host of What to Watch Weekends, and I'm currently by myself right now, but I will be joined by a guest very soon. It's all good. We can do the introduction by ourselves. This is fine, he says to himself, not suspiciously whatsoever. I'm fine with this. No, it's completely fine. I'm just going to do the quick introduction, and then we're going to go to a quick music break, and then when we come back, I will not be the only one talking here. So just look forward to that. And I really do hope that you stick around and look forward to it as much as I do, because tonight's show is going to be a very interesting one. We are going to be talking about movies by the British director John Boorman, specifically near the end of the show, so stick around to hear my thoughts and opinions on this one. But we will be talking about the movie Point Blank, which is very significant to my overall career and I guess my life, because without having watched the movie Point Blank, I would not be speaking to you right now. And I don't mean in the sense of I would no longer be alive. I just mean more so that this radio show would not exist. I should clarify that. I would not be speaking here on 88.1 The Burg if I had never seen the movie Point Blank. So that's just some interesting food for thought, and we'll get into why that is near the end of the show. But until then, we will be talking about some other John Boorman movies, such as Excalibur, Deliverance, and Zardoz. If you've never heard of any of those before, then I really hope that you'll stick around to hear about them, because it's going to be a really fun show. So with that, I'm going to send us off to a music break, and when we come back, we will hopefully have another person to talk to. So stick around, and be back soon, I guess. 88.1 The Burg, your movie central. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends, everybody. My name is Nathan, the host of What to Watch Weekends. And as I promised before we went to break during the intro, we now have another person to talk to.
Yay!
Yay, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is CJ, and I'm the host of Vintage Antiques radio show. It's on Mondays from 4 to 5, and I am also on the 5 on Mondays with Noah, who is the host of Aloha Fridays, and our 5 show is, as the title, runs from 5 to 6, and we talk about foodie stuff and cuisine around country.
Yes, and the last couple of times you've been on my show before, CJ, we've had Noah here with us.
Yes, we have. Unfortunately, Noah is not on the east side of Washington right now. He's on the west side, so he's unable to join us. But that is all right. It's you and me today.
Yes. Noah, if you're listening, text in.
Yes. Actually, I should tell him to listen in.
Definitely.
He's free.
Yeah, I think you'd get a kick out of this, because tonight,
Oh, yes.
one of them is going to really be a kick. But we got to kind of do the formalities of the first movie on the watch list from Wednesday to kind of give it a re-review, because we're talking about John Boorman movies, and in order to kind of drag out this show so that anybody listening will have to deal with the suspense of the whole thing, I'm not going to talk about the fourth movie, the one that I didn't talk about on Wednesday, until the end of the show. We're going to start with the first movie I talked about on Wednesday's show, that being Excalibur from 1981, which is available to rent from services such as Amazon and YouTube. Services
somewhere.
I was going to just stop at services, but that just felt way too inauthentic for the poor audience listeners. So, but let's jump into Excalibur, shall we?
Yes.
From 81. So when I say Excalibur, what do you think of?
Well, X usually means prior, and caliber usually means like to a degree, or sometimes it can talk about like guns.
Yeah, that's true. Do you not think of the mystical sword that was given to King Arthur at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that to be fair to you, When I heard the name Excalibur, I didn't process that it was going to be a King Arthur movie until it started. And I was like, oh, wait, Excalibur. Yeah, the sword given to the King Arthur from the Lady in the Lake.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
the traditional folk medieval story.
It is now ringing a bell. And listen, sometimes when I'm running on low energy, I do what my mom does. She's a walking, talking encyclopedia. I was just like, okay, so the definition of the words, what are the roots of these? And how do I break it down and define it?
No, that's fair. It's not exactly fair. I don't exactly understand that, but I understand the low energy thing because I'm feeling partially low energy, mostly because I've had a busy day, but also because that jazz song really just kind of slowed me down very much.
So calming.
Very calming. And I'm not feeling
soothing.
Very soothing. We're going to very much destroy that illusion very soon.
Very quickly.
We've already destroyed it. It's gone. But so yes, Excalibur, the movie Excalibur from 1981 is we've got King Arthur, we've got the Lady of the Lake, we've got the mystical sword Excalibur and it being put in the stone, it being drawn from the stone by King Arthur. We've got Sir not Galahad, Lancelot specifically. We've got Merlin. We've got all of it. And let me ask, actually, would you imagine that this movie is accurate?
Most movies aren't. Most historical films just, oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. But, not every single one is bad. So I'm teetering more towards maybe, but probably not.
Maybe, but probably not. I've talked to, I think, a coworker of mine who's a very big fan of the King Arthur stuff. And when I told him that I watched this, he was like, yeah, it actually is kind of accurate. There's a reason for that, which is this was actually based on a specific interpretation of the King Arthur story. Rather, like it was kind of expounding upon the plot elements of this interpretation. It's called Les Mortes d'Arthur.
I know that.
Yeah. Really? Yeah, I say.
Je parle quelque français.
What? Right. No, you mean you know that as in like you've read that one before or you've heard?
No, I've heard of it. I've been recommended it before and never got around to it.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. It's I believe the title directly translated is The Death of Arthur.
Yes.
Yeah, because Morte is definitely
death. Yeah.
Yeah, that in Latin, and by extension French, which is I believe because this took inspiration from the French and English tales, and I believe it was written in French, which I think makes sense why you were recommended it because you can speak French to some degree.
Oui.
Or we.
C'est comment?
We. You mean the Nintendo console? No.
I miss that thing so much.
Oh yes, I love the will. So, if anything, the whole thing about the death of Arthur is it's a very conclusive story. When I say what do I mean conclusive? I meant comprehensive. It's a very comprehensive telling of Arthur. It goes from his father Uther Pendragon and his affair with the wife of a person who he was currently at war with, all the way to Arthur's eventual death, which is kind of spoilers, but if the title of the story is The Death of Arthur, you asked for this. Yes. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But yes, it is basically that's the story of the book. And the movie takes direct inspiration from that story specifically. And from what I've read online and from what I've heard, it's actually a lot more accurate than people give it credit for. It's because it's a movie and the book it's based off of is not really more so a book and instead a work of prose or a very long-winded piece of writing.
Yeah.
You obviously can't get everything right.
Yeah.
And you can't really get every single piece in there.
And it's also harder to translate prose as well, rather than a cohesive narrative that is, intentionally narrative driven.
Right.
But that's still impressive that they got it mostly accurate for something that isn't.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that the big thing they got right was that the main one of the main messages, or at least a message in the prose that is communicated in the movie is like, for example, when Arthur begins to die, the land of, what's his kingdom called? It's so well known, but I can't remember what it's called. Hang on. His kingdom basically dies around him. The land dies around him. That's the whole thing. King Arthur. What is the kingdom?
King Arthur land.
Camelot. Camelot.
Oh yeah, Camelot. Yeah,
Camelot.
Yeah.
So the basic premise. There was a. Oopsie. Oopsies. No. So there was a message within La Morte d'Arthur, which is that when Arthur begins to die and pass away, the land, such as the trees, the shrubbery, all of everything just starts to die. What's so funny?
Just he's getting a hair off and it just floating off into space.
Fair enough. Yes, I did have a hair on my hand.
Just a flick and then it just trickled down.
La Morte Arthur, more like La Morte CJ's brain.
Sanity.
We
just gone.
Oh well, it's fine. So I think we can kind of move on from talking about La Morte Arthur because it's just an interesting aspect of it. It is trying to be accurate and it's trying to do some stuff with it. And we'll get to why that's a good and a bad thing. Actually, we should get to that right now. I think the problem with Excalibur, one thing that I mentioned, is it's a lot more concerned with reciting the story back to you, which works for prose, to my knowledge, which is because it's meant to be recited.
Yeah.
But for a movie, you don't really want something reciting. You want it to be told to you.
Yeah.
It's kind of a different work. It's not like you're going to watch somebody read something out to you. You don't go to watch a movie to watch the actors read the script.
Yeah.
You watch the movie to see the characters interact in the story.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think a way that if it was all or predominantly reciting, instead of doing that, they could have done something similar to The Princess Bride, where the opening is reading and the ending is reading, but the midsection is all just the actual content being portrayed.
I think that would actually really help with this movie. If now that you mention that, I think that would really help. Like you have a book that has like Excalibur put on it and it's like an English scholar reading through it.
I mean, it's definitely overdone in old Disney, but in live action, not at all. It's not really often done in live action, actually.
No, I mean, the biggest example would be The Princess Bride, and even then, that's like a grand...
Still very rare, yes.
Yeah, this one I think would have to include like kind of a more high society nature to it, but I think that would give it more like credence. It would make more sense. And again, it's... When I say reciting, I mean more so that it feels like the actors are kind of just going through the motions.
Yeah.
It's just kind of going through the motions. And as you've mentioned, with prose, it's a lot easier to do that because it's meant to be read out. That's not the point. Like it's supposed to be read out rather than be a narrative. And so from that perspective, this movie just I think it would have been benefited by that bookend. I think it would have kind of given the context of, okay, this is just meant to be read back to me rather than kind of performed and acted in a way that is meant to be an interesting story. It's annoying because that's not what I want to watch a movie for, but I think it would be an interesting and unique experience from that perspective. And I'd be able to kind of, I guess, dissuade my own dissonance.
Yeah. I feel like translating any original work to film is particularly tricky when it's not just inspiration but adaptation. I think those are the two keyword differences. Inspiration is a lot easier to work off of. Like again, I'll use Disney as an example. That's all inspiration. None of it is ever adaptation.
Right.
And Pocahontas is very, very loose inspiration at best. But when it comes to adaptation, it's you have people who know the stories and know them well, or you'll even have like historians or, extremely well-read people if it's based on like a famous literature, or even like some movies based on paintings, for crying out loud. And you'll have people in the art world be like, oh, why is this not following this? And I think there is definitely a certain pressure that does give audiences higher expectations of these types of works as opposed to an inspired by, because an inspired by is more of just going along for the ride. But
Yeah.
adaptation means, oh, I am expecting as much accuracy as possible, or if not expecting, because a lot of movies don't really do it, but hoping for a really fitting adaptation of the original source material. But I think one of the best adaptations, again, it's more of a niche film, I would say, at least for wider audiences. But Holes actually is the best book adaptation I have seen to date. And in terms of films, and then in terms of TV shows, The Queen's Gambit is the closest you could ever get to adapting a book.
Right. So those are some interesting points. I've got 3 things that I'm holding on because I now have 3 different points. First off is it does say in the article that it's loosely based off of Winmore Arthur.
Okay.
So they do kind of have some leniency there. But I think the problem is that when they say loosely based, it doesn't really come across. It felt to me like they were trying to recite or more so adapt or not really just be taking inspiration from it, more so trying to follow it best as they can.
Yeah.
So I don't think that excuse holds up perfectly.
Yeah, in which case, yeah, that excuse doesn't really hold up at all.
It's rather than excuse, it's more just like it just doesn't make sense after seeing the movie. I'm like, what do you mean loosely based? I mean, I could see why, but it's just it feels like it would have been better with that bookend. It just feels like that would fit the style and the like mood that this movie generates would benefit it more. And so for that reason, I think it just doesn't make sense for him to say loosely.
Yeah.
The second point, even in this case where it's loosely based off of, you would be surprised whenever I tried to look up accuracy to the story, a bunch of annoying people on Quora were saying that the armor is not accurate to the time. So I will say that no matter how much you're trying to be adaptational or inspiration, people will be annoying and say, that's not accurate to the time period.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, hey, Quora, shut up. Nobody cares.
That's just the masses for you, honestly.
Yeah.
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 I think it's honestly, sometimes it can also be budgeting as well, or even legal when it's, it wouldn't be for this piece, but for war movies, when you're portraying specific medals, sometimes you're not even allowed to use an exact replica and they have to slightly change it.
Right.
And that's something not everybody knows. But yeah, I think for something like this, it's not really the biggest deal unless it looks modern and it's not supposed to.
It looks like knight armor. It looks like armor.
Yeah.
And the whole point is like this movie is meant to take off the what's the word? The mystical side of the King Arthur story. It's not meant to be based on I don't even know if King Arthur was a real person in history.
I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
If he was, then it's not meant to be about that. It's meant to be about the medieval fantasy story King Arthur.
Yeah.
And if anybody keeps whining about how it's not accurate, I do not care. My third point, what was my third? Oh, yes. I would contend that there is the best book adaptation I believe I have seen to date would have to be, we were talking about this earlier, actually, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, yeah. How did I forget about that? Yeah.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
So good.
Let me tell you. When I read that book when I was in 5th grade, I believe. No, we watched the movie when I was 5th. We either both read the book and then watched the movie, or we just watched the movie when I was in 5th grade.
For me, we read the book first and then watched the movie.
Right. I remember watching the movie in 5th grade. I just can't remember if we read the book first. What I do remember is that in, I think, the summer of my sophomore year of high school, I was down at my grandparents' for the summer, and I had the book with me because my mom had told me to read a book over the summer.
Yeah.
And I was just reading To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
And I read through the entire thing. Yeah. It was a very good book. And so then I believe 2 weeks later, we go back to my grandparents' house and they have rented To Kill a Mockingbird from the library.
Oh, wow.
And we sit down and we watch it. And I remember the awe I felt watching Gregory Peck recite exact lines of Atticus.
Word for word.
Word for word. There were only 2 things they did not include.
Yeah.
There was the boy that they brought in who was implied to be in abject poverty, and they just didn't expand upon it as much as the book did.
Yeah.
And I believe there was just one scene where Joe did something that they recreated in the movie incorrectly.
Yeah.
That was it.
But also, like, the trial, when they showed
All of that
the
was
trial,
done.
it was done literally pretty close to word for word. Not quite, but pretty much.
It was enough to where they got every single high level point.
They got
down
every
perfectly.
crucial point. Yeah.
Every single crucial point of that trial was just done right.
And the acting was just at 100%, 110% in that film too. And I absolutely love Gregory Peck as an actor, just in general. But him in this film just really showed his depth, and I think a new depth for Gregory as well compared to the other films I've seen him in.
I don't even care about the guy, honestly. I care more about the character of Atticus. Atticus was just a good character. He was a good dad. He had something going. And I really like.
No, I love Atticus Finch so much. I can't believe I forgot about the movie when talking about book association. But I loved the character so much, I named something after him.
Oh, what was that?
I have a thing that I named after him.
Okay.
A walking stick.
Oh,
for my bad chronic back pain when it gets chronic.
Oh, I see.
But it's really fancy and pretty, and I named it Atticus, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love Atticus Finch, and it's all fancy and pretty.
It sounded so incredibly suspicious when you're just like, I have a thing that I named after him.
Listen, I'm 21 years old and I have a cane. I'm not particularly proud of it, but I don't have to use it all the time.
No, that's fair.
I only have to use it when I'm dealing with my chronic back pain. So.
No, yeah, that's fair. We've gotten off track, but that's completely fine. I think.
But anyway, King Arthur.
Yes, King Arthur. Let's see. I think. So. How do I narrow down the rest of my thoughts here? Mm-hmm. My most recurring thought in my review on Wednesday was that this movie felt like it was produced and acted by a local theater troupe. You know, people who go to the amphitheater and they're just kind of, and it's like sight reading for musicians, but theater people.
I know that feeling.
Yep. It felt like that when Uther was in the story, Arthur's father. I will say, the way I'd break it down is that Merlin is the guy who started the troupe. He's the oldest one there, and he's got like industry experience, and he's just bringing in a bunch of newbies.
Yeah.
And then we have the guy playing Arthur. And I'd argue he's the one that the Merlin actor is like, okay, this guy's actually going somewhere, so might as well give him the lead role.
Yeah.
He'll seem kind of weird at first, but he'll manage eventually, and he'll actually probably get something like some recognition for this role.
Yeah.
Everybody else, Galahad is not Galahad. I keep saying Galahad when I meant to say
Camelot?
No.
Lancelot.
No, it is Galahad. Wait, no, is it Lancelot or is it Galahad? It's Lancelot. I keep trying to say Lancelot. Mm-hmm. The guy played by Lancelot is the pretty boy who can't exactly act, but he sure looks pretty, so might as well make him the hot one.
Whenever I think Lancelot, I think of the Night at the Museum.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Monty Python, the guy charging into the castle, because that's what I think of.
That too, but I mostly think of the Night at the Museum one because he's just so, just such a drama queen in all the best ways.
I'm sure. Lancelot can either be like the hot one or just the dramatic pretty boy. In this movie, he's both.
I mean, he's a himbo.
Yes.
He's old times medieval himbo.
Definitely. Yeah. And he even wins over the heart of Guinevere, King Arthur's wife.
You know, if they ever made a remake of this, I want Ryan Gosling as Lancelot.
We would never hear the end of it from the internet if that happened.
No, we wouldn't, but it would be glorious.
It would be something. I don't know if it'd be a good thing or a bad thing. I could definitely imagine it, and it would be something. Wait, no, it would actually be perfect because
so funny.
it'd be so funny because people relate to Ryan Gosling because he never gets the girl.
Yeah.
Lancelot, he does get the girl of Guinevere, aka Arthur's wife, but eventually they just break apart because Arthur gets really mad about it, and he basically just loses Excalibur and starts to die. Oopsies. But yeah, I could tell you about how all the religious imagery, but it really boils down to he is a pretty boy, but Lancelot looks a lot like have you seen the like traditional images of what Adam looked like from Garden of Eden?
Yeah, I've seen some old paintings.
Yeah, we've got that, and then we've got Guinevere looking a bit like Eve.
Oh.
So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and there is and Merlin tends to have a snake nearby him for some reason, even though and that doesn't really make any sense because it doesn't really pan out in the way you'd expect. But then they go into Superman's Crystal of Solitude, Kingdom of Solitude underground, and it's like, okay, here we are in the solace of underground. Teach me the charm of creation. The what? What is that? That is not real. That is not in the movie or in the. No, in the story. That was completely made up. We've talked for so long about this, but it's completely fine. I will say, quick other things. Shot design's great. They have very cool green lighting whenever Excalibur is on screen. They have this Wagner music play as the theme for Excalibur. And the Sword from the Stone scene is probably better than Disney's. Fight me on it. I dare you. I would think this movie should have been called maybe The Round Table or King Arthur, but Excalibur works perfectly fine, and it's a pretty significant sword anyways, so might as well have it.
I mean, Excalibur sounds way cooler.
Yes, it does.
Honest.
I mean, you were even breaking it down, but yes, Excalibur, yes. This is my Excalibur! Holds up a tube of bread. I'm just holding up a baguette going, my Excalibur. We should go to break before I completely devolve.
Unhinged.
Yes, we've become unhinged. There was a door hinge.
Become unhinged?
No. We will be back after a quick break with yes.
He's lost his train of thought, folks. Just
It's just
don't mind. Please stand by.
No. I haven't lost it. My train of thought has just been starting and stopping all the time, and I think the brakes have are hanging on a thread. At some point, they're going to snap eventually. Actually, I know exactly when they're going to snap, but we won't get there yet. When we come back from the break, we will talk about the movie Deliverance. So stick around for that. 88.1 The Burg, your movie central. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends. My name is Nathan, the host of the show, and I'm joined by
CJ.
Yes, I was about to say JC. Penny, that's not funny. Yes, it is.
Yo, so funny.
Before we continue on, we do in fact actually have a text request to go over. Text request is just the website. Why did I say it like that? I meant a text in. Oopsie daisy. But we do have one from number. I'm not going to read it out loud to avoid doxing this person, but we do in fact know who it is. This is Noah, who we were mentioning earlier, who who has been on the show before,
and he is also on the news, the CW what
News Central.
News Central. Yeah.
News Central.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yes. And he says, well, I hear Lancelot and I think of the movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Monty Python.
Don't question. Do not question. No. I feel I have the exact same response. I just can't stop thinking of Lancelot charging the castle. There is a YouTube video that's called it a stealth attack. That's not a stealth attack, but it is a stealth attack in the sense of a video game when they tell you to use stealth.
Yes.
Anyways, before we get too off track, we are going to jump into the next movie on the list tonight. Oh, you don't like the Sarah hat? That's fine.
I can't see.
That's fair.
It keeps falling.
That's fair. So our next movie on the list is called Deliverance from 1972, which is available to rent. The basic plot summary follows four men who go to the Georgia wilderness on a canoe trip. right? They're out in the southern wilderness. I think Georgia's south, right?
Yes.
I don't geography. So basically, these men are going on a canoe trip to this specific lake up in the mountains, very much backwoods, and they want to do this before the river has a dam installed that basically removes it. Unfortunately, at a town nearby, there's some locals in this backwoods area who don't take too kindly to strangers. And they basically begin to attack these men because these are men from the city and they don't like city folk.
Oh.
Yes, it's rather unfortunate.
Ain't don't want no city boy in my town.
Yeah, basically. Unfortunately, they go a bit too far in proclaiming that.
Uh-oh.
This is where we have the disclaimer. And this is something that I feel very confident in doing on my own because I can be serious when I really need to be. Ladies and gentlemen of the listening audience, and that includes you, CJ, I have to give a very serious disclaimer about the film Deliverance. It is known for including a scene in which one of the backwoods Georgia residents forces one of the members of this group of men, specifically the character played by Ned Beatley, to both in the emotional sense and in the physical sense lose his innocence, rather unfortunately, and
unconsensually,
without his consent.
Yeah.
That's the best way to dance around that, honestly.
Yeah.
And while you may be thinking it's excessive, don't worry. You don't need to just wonder and think that it's excessive, because I can confirm it is indeed very excessive, unneeded, and out of left field, if I'm being completely honest. I remember rewatching this movie, and I've seen it twice now. I still think that scene did not need to be in there. I did not like watching it, as you can probably imagine.
Yeah.
That kind of thing does not belong in a movie about backwoods Georgia wilderness. It belongs more so in a good example when I was telling my coworkers about this. Have you seen the film Taxi Driver?
No, I've seen trailers for it, but I never get around to it.
Okay. Well, how do I put this? Jodie Foster's character in Taxi Driver is a underage girl who exchanges herself for money is the way to go about that. With that specific type of topic in mind, I think a scene like that would make sense. Specifically the thing from Deliverance. In that context, makes more sense than Georgia wilderness.
Well, I think as someone who's not seen it, I do agree. Yeah, that does sound like it'd be very out of place. I think it's not even just about setting, but I think it's less about setting and more about story.
Yes. And that's my thing. Like when I say setting, I mean story about that.
Because I think that works for a Georgetown honky-tonk film, but that's if it's addressing such issues of SA and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if it's not addressing those types of things, generally speaking, then yeah, that is very out of left field. Or if the weight of the film itself is heavy, like with Promising Young Woman, that, I mean, it has its fun bubbly moments, but that is a generally very heavy film.
Yeah. I will say,
digest.
Yes, this movie is heavy, but in the sense that it's more about morality and the integration of man and nature and modernization and the wilderness being overtaken.
Than interpersonal relationships.
Yeah. Well, it is about interpersonal relationships. It's about the men coming together to basically bury the body of the guy who did this awful thing.
Yeah.
And after they kill him, I would argue, however, that to go to that length does not necessarily communicate. It overblows it a little bit. The whole intention of the scene is to shock the audience and kind of hard reset them, because then it goes into the scene where they kill him with an arrow and they have to bury his body near a river. And they deal with, there is no law out here. Like, and if there is a law, we will go back to this Georgia backwoods town and be hung by our bootstraps by the jury because this is a Georgia backwoods town.
Well, I also think intention is also a huge thing too, because if the intention is just for shock value, it's cheap, it's graphic, and it's gratuitous, and it's
cheap,
unneeded, and unnecessary, and frankly not wanted. I mean, people don't want those scenes unless you're a sicko, but those scenes are necessary for storytelling, even in some generally lighthearted films, but that also still tackle tough topics. But usually it's not graphically shown or depicted, it's just inferred.
It is.
And when it is graphically shown, it's usually for something, a piece more like Schindler's List.
Yeah. I should say it's not like you see the act itself it's abstracted well enough and kind of implied during the brunt of it, but there's enough build up that shows enough that you know what's happening.
Yeah.
My big point is I feel like for the story that Deliverance is trying to tell, it's trying to be about nature being overrun. And it doesn't really explore, because it is in the 70s, it doesn't explore the nature of men not being able to talk about something like this happening to them. I think it should have backed it up a little bit and gone, what if instead of doing that, and this applies to the author of the original novel, not the filmmakers, because this is a scene that was in the book.
Yeah.
And they basically recreated it in the movie.
Yeah.
So I have to address this to the author. I do believe you should have had the scene be more about them attempting to drown the character in the very river that they are canoeing in, and him having to deal with the fact that he can't enjoy his canoe trip anymore. And while it may seem like that is very clear cut morally, because the whole point is it's kind of morally ambiguous. Of course, it's wrong, but the jury might not see it as wrong. And because it's a Georgia backwoods town where people are related, they may side with their relative. And the fact that the relative has been killed, the way you build up to that is you kind of have it go in a strange direction where they meet these two people in the backwoods after they like pull off in the canoe. And you have them like splashing water at each other as kind of a game. And then it turns into, we're going to grab you and attempt to drown you in a way. I think that would achieve the same goal of escalating the stakes to be a life or death scenario where Burt Reynolds would have to come in and shoot one of them with a bow and arrow because he is in this movie.
Yeah, I saw the casting.
Yes. With Burt Reynolds still having the right to self-defense, but with there still being the moral ambiguity of, okay, what do? We've never killed somebody before. How do we handle this? We can still they still bury him next to a creek, or they still bury him in a shallow grave, and then they still have to grapple with the fact that people back in town will not take their side. I can imagine this is very difficult for someone who's never seen it, but can you understand why I feel so strongly?
Yeah, no, when you're covering topics so intense, it needs to be handled with care. And especially, I mean, it doesn't matter what gender you are, but men in particular, if they are the victim of such acts, it's usually played off as either a joke, or it's nothing at all, or it is it's very overdone and overblown to a very grotesque level, and and then that's it, and then that's the end of the scene, and it doesn't affect anybody else for pretty much the rest of the movie, aside from maybe 5 minutes after.
Right.
So, I mean, that's how women have also been handled in the majority of older films as well. But, when you have a scene like that, that's just for shock value. To change it as a death would make more sense, not only for the story, but it wouldn't be just kind of there.
Yeah, I was even going to say, like, it doesn't have to be the death of the character of Ned Beatty. It's more like they're attempting to drown him.
Yeah.
That's the point. Like, they're trying to get a message across. And I'll just kind of narrow it down so that we can kind of move on, because this is a very heavy thing.
Yes.
I'll just say that it's definitely in that category of you mentioning where it's brought up and then has an effect on the next 5 minutes and then does not come back.
Yeah.
And that's the most unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
Because in Deliverance's case, I believe that is the thing that holds it down.
Yeah.
That is the thing that holds it back from being as good as it possibly could be. Because otherwise, it would be an amazing movie.
Yeah. No, if the gravity of that situation carried throughout the rest of the film, then
If it wasn't there.
then it would be fine. I think a more lighthearted, but I guess not super lighthearted example of this would be that I didn't notice until people were mentioning it is in Disney's Mulan, the good version, not the terrible live action. They sing and it's a musical up until they see the war and the general has died and Li Shang is like, okay, well, my dad's dead and I'm the general now and here we go, and there are no more songs.
Yeah.
For the rest of the film. And that weight, like, I knew I liked the film growing up. I just couldn't put my finger on it. And I think that's one of its biggest strengths is the weight of its subject.
Yeah.
Even though it is a kid's film, it works for both adults and kids alike because it is not pandering or babying its audience while also holding the weight and level of severity that their discussion is.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that coin, in the case of Deliverance, a movie made more so for adults than for children,
Yeah.
it kind of sucks to see a movie that had the potential to be something interesting and have like a good theme to it fall into that category of being a bit too much and a bit too explicit with its idea to the point of it pushing beyond and becoming excessive, which is rather unfortunate.
Yeah.
So in order to move away from this part of the discussion,
Yes.
because we've talked about it for long enough.
Yes. Don't need to depress the audience.
No. I'll depress you in a different way.
Okay.
The song Dueling Banjos is used in this movie. It's this very fun little song that kind of uses the bum 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 bum. Wait, I don't know what famous song it was.
Bongo drums.
No, it's just a banjo song, and unfortunately there was proof that they didn't pay the original musician. They just re-recorded the song.
Good.
No, it's not. Thankfully, he did go to court and get a lawsuit and win, and they had to pay him.
That's good.
That's good. It just kind of adds a dampener on the whole thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as long as he got paid.
Yeah.
I mean, the filmmakers...
That's better than him losing the case. And
True.
Then,
Yeah. But I will say, this is the movie that launched Burt Reynolds' career. Without it, we would never have gotten Smokey and the Bandit. Eastbound and down, loaded up and truck. Have you seen Smokey and the Bandit?
Nope.
Do you know who Burt Reynolds is?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Do you like Burt Reynolds? Yeah, fair. I can't say
I don't have a hard opinion on him. I haven't seen many interviews of him or anything.
Fair.
But yeah, I've heard of him.
Have you heard of Ernie and Burt Reynolds?
Yes.
I love Burt Reynolds. Now I'm just imagining Burt Reynolds shaped like Burt from Sesame Street. And it's making me laugh.
It's Burt and Ernie.
Ernie Hudson and Burt Reynolds.
Did you know Sesame Street is still kicking?
Yes.
It's insane.
Insanity. You know what else is insanity? The next movie that we will be talking about for the night, which will be the film Zardoz from 1974. We're going to go to break, and when we come back, I hope you're all ready on the end of the listening and for CJ, because I'm about to lose my mind talking about this movie.
Uh-oh, here we go.
We'll be back soon. 88.1 The Burg, your movie central. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends, everybody.
Straggling.
Struggling or straggling?
Give or take.
Give or take 1 billion. 1 billion, yes. Okay. How about you introduce yourself?
Ayo, I'm CJ. I'm the host of Vintage Antiques Radio Show on Mondays from 4 to 5. And I also co-host with Noah from Aloha Fridays on the 5 on Mondays from 5 to 6. And we talk about foodie stuff all over the nation.
Very nice. And my name is Nathan, the host of the show, and the one who hosts What to Watch Wednesdays. Specifically this week on What to Watch Wednesdays, we talked about John Boorman movies. And if you were listening in, I'm so sorry. Because you know exactly what's coming next. The next movie that we're going to talk about tonight is Zardoz from 1974, which is available to rent. And I did rent this movie because it wasn't available through other means.
How much did you rent it for?
Only $3.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, it's pretty standard rates these days. You'd be surprised. Like, YouTube has a lot of movies to rent.
Oh, yeah, they got tons. They've been making quite a few good movies free, like
Oh,
Book of
yeah?
Life.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. I was like, heck yes.
Yes,
Let's go.
Yes, they have like free with ads movies. They've just done a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
It's very nice. So, ladies and gentlemen of the listening audience, I am now going to show CJ a wonderful image, and I'm going to adjust the camera while I do this. Hang on. I'm standing up. Hang on. I'm standing up. Okay.
For context, Nathan is very tall.
Yes, I am. So, CJ, I want you to look at the image I'm about to pull up. We are not going to do any plot summary until you see this image. Yeah. Yes, for context, CJ just said what the flip. Here, you could bring your microphone down. What do you think?
I think bro is in a BDSM diaper.
Yeah?
Holding a pistol.
Yes. Okay, do you know who this actor is?
Hold on, I gotta come over there. 1 second.
Okay. CJ's on her way over to take a look at this image. For context, if you are able to look up an image, Zardoz, just look that up and look at the images.
Oh, it says Sean Connery.
Yes. It's Sean Connery.
How's that Sean Connery? No, that doesn't.
It's Sean Connery.
No.
Yes, it is indeed Sean Connery. Yes, you. That's a very good reaction. Ladies and gentlemen of the listening audience.
That is blasphemous heresy.
Yes, it is.
I demand a refund.
For me?
For my eyesight.
That's fair. Oh, did you see the wedding dress variation? You will never be able... If I can't unsee this, you can't be able to unsee this either. What?
I think my eyes are bleeding.
Yeah. Mine were too. So...
That's worse than the yellow dress.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. So, let me tell you something.
Yes.
That outfit,
Yes.
not the bridal outfit.
No.
But this red outfit with the bandoliers and the overalls and just the superhero underwear.
Red male stripper outfit.
Yes. Sean Connery outfit is the most normal thing about Zardoz.
What did he do to deserve this?
He ran out of money. Let me explain to you.
Relatable.
Are you ready for the plot explanation of this
Dear.
abomination? I'm serious.
Oh dear.
You're gonna be ready to follow along with me.
I'm gonna be so glad I didn't have to buy this.
Yes, you are. Basic plot summary of Zardoz. We transport ourselves to 2293. As Earth has become a desolate wasteland, the Brutals, a group of animalistic human beings, wander the desolate wasteland of Earth. Some of these Brutals, these animalistic killers, have become the exterminators for the floating head in the sky called Zardoz, a god. Now, Zardoz is a floating head. So one of the exterminators, a man by the name of Zed, played by Sean Connery, decides to climb into the head of Zardoz and figure out what exactly is the deal with Zardoz. Let's see where this takes me. It takes him to the Vortex, a land outside of the barriers of this desolate wasteland of Earth that it has become, where they live the Eternals, a group of immortal human beings who cannot die. And it is revealed that Zardoz is a fake god. Now, are you following me so far?
What is this Wizard of Oz Island, Boys Island? What is this cesspool of information that I'm hearing?
You know, it's so funny that you mentioned the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
The reason he goes and finds out what Zardoz means is because he reads the book, The Wizard of Oz, and figures out that the name Zardoz is just the wizard, Zard, without the of, Oz. Zard Oz. Do you see the connection? No? That is the funniest look you have ever given me, CJ. You look so done.
Did you finish this film?
Yes. I watched the entire thing.
Oh, that's 2 hours of life wasted.
You know what? I'm fine with that. You know why I'm fine with that?
Oh, I know.
It was so bad it's good. It was so horrendous that I found it so incredibly entertaining. Let me tell you, it's awful. It's so incredibly bad.
So like Napoleon Dynamite type vibes?
No, more like The Room. The Room, where I'm like, I could pull apart every single scene in this movie and tear it down word for word. All of it doesn't work. All of it is just exposition after exposition after exposition, and it needs more exposition, but it already has too much, so they can't put in any more. And yet I still feel confused. All of it is just overblown, overdone. This just... It throws you in without ever looking back whatsoever, slowing down, taking a break, when it severely needed one. For example, during the first 5 minutes of the movie, we follow Zed, which is the character played by Sean Connery, as he what?
Stupid name.
Yes, it is. Zed gets into the head of Zardoz, and he kills this random guy who looks like a pharaoh, kind of. A man by the name of, what's his name? Arthur Frayne, who's one of the Eternals who created the fake god Zardoz to control the Brutals. Or more so, the exterminators who go and kill the Brutals.
Maybe Phase 4 of Marvel isn't so bad.
Oh, you have no...
For context, it is.
Yes, but...
For clarification.
You have no idea. Zed basically shoots Arthur directly in the face. Now, keep in mind that he's an Eternal. He's immortal. He can't die. Don't worry, he gets revived in the Chromium Pyramid. Oh, and that's where I see that your brain has shut off. No, that's not where it has shut off. It's been shut off for a while, hasn't it? I should probably sit back down so I don't start yelling some more, and I'm very tall, so listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. We have other characters, such as the Renegades and the Apathetics, who are Eternals, who are immortal, who the Apathetics are apathetic, and the Renegades are old people but are still immortal. No, I know. I was watching this movie.
Peak writing. Oh, yes.
I can't tell what's funnier. The fact that I was like screaming my head off, or the fact that I'm still doing that, and you just look so done. You just look... Are you glad that I threw you in blind to this?
Oh, I just love that you brought me here.
Yeah, I'm winning. You know, I think it's time that we take a step back, and I should ask you, do you think satire is important?
How so?
Do you think satire films are important? Satire in movies are important?
Satire in movies, depending on the film, it can be important, but not important as in it holds value, important as in it needs to be there.
Yes.
But not all satire needs to be there.
Yes. In this movie, I believe it is trying to be a satire. My thing with satire is it needs to be a good movie without the satire. Or more so, it needs to do something with the satire.
Yeah, like in, what was it, 100 Ways to Die or something, in the Wild Wild West or something.
Oh, 1001 Ways to Die?
Something like that.
I was thinking more so of Blazing Saddles.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. Blazing Saddles being like a satire and commentary on stuff.
Yeah, I feel like satire has to have a purpose if it's going to be satire, and it has to be funny.
Yes.
If it's not funny, it is not worth it.
No.
Worth your time. Oh my gosh.
I will give Zardoz this.
me.
It's funny, but for all the reasons I don't think they were intending.
For all the wrong reasons.
Yes, for sure. I think
like the comment section of the new Snow White. Anyways.
At any rate, I think some of this is just so difficult because I could go on and on, but I don't want to go on and on. I think what's so funny? What's so funny? What's so funny? What's so funny?
The fact that it's red and not. It's like he's wearing a period diaper.
I don't know if we could say that.
Just cut it out.
I think I could go on about this for so long, and yet there's so many things that I can't articulate. I personally only enjoyed this because it was bad. I only had entertainment value in ripping it apart in my head, which I'm sure you could probably understand. It's not like I can watch this and unironically like it. That's not how this works. It's meant to be a kind of pick apart. And just look at the way this head looks. That is just stupid. That is just not...
I mean, it works in a fish tank. Like in Finding Nemo or something? I don't know.
That's fair. I mean...
That's where that belongs.
Yeah, not in a movie, though.
No.
No. The floating head does not belong in the movie. It belongs in a fish tank. That's a strange interpretation, but it's not inaccurate whatsoever. I mainly watched this just to see how bad it could truly get.
It looks like the Aztecs version of Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very conclusive way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I can't explain to you what my mental state was when I was watching this and getting entertainment out of it being so bad.
How much skin is shown in this freaking film?
A lot. Quite a lot, actually. That was my biggest point, is that the acting and just the overall feel of it, if it had been done by a not director such as John Boorman, I think it would have been X-rated. And when I say that, I don't mean for violence. I mean it was an 18 up, adults only, no entrance to this website if you're under 18 kind of movie, which is how we're going to dance around that.
Yeah.
I think it very much would have been that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a problem.
Yeah.
But, oh well, that's fine. Not really.
Peeping Tom type of film.
Not even with that level of like intricacy. Just a more, how do we put it? A very clearly intentionally trying to incite excitement movie constantly. Do you think that covers it? Do you think does I think you're just like, I think you're basically in this stage, CJ, where you're like, the computer is just freezing every so often and you just can't like react at all.
No, I'm just thinking, I hope Sean Connery sued.
He did not. He was like running out of money when he did this movie. Like
Yikes.
he needed, he was like at the stage where he lived with John Boorman in order to make the movie. He was like that low on funds. Let me see here. Like,
dude should have just been a YouTuber.
this was in the 70s.
I know.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's just so funny and tragic to see the great Sean Connery of all people turned into just such a strange. Why is it not work? Oh, I don't. Oh, I see. Okay.
It's like they were trying to make what's that male
What?
adult entertainment movie that
What?
oh shoot.
I don't know. Okay.
Where oh gosh, actors' names are. You did this to me. This film is making me forget stuff.
Good.
This is your fault.
Yes, good.
I blame you entirely.
Good. You should. According to writer, producer, and director Sir John Boorman, Sir Sean Connery had a very hard time finding work after Diamonds Are Forever. Boorman was allegedly able to hire Connery for $200,000. That is directly.
Yikes.
That is directly from IMDb. That's not that may not be proven.
Magic Mike with Channing Tatum.
That's yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
200,000 though, that's so low.
I mean, for the 70s, it may not be super low, but for acting,
that's
even
still
in the 70s,
on the low end for 70s.
Yeah, it was definitely cheap.
Yeah.
And I feel bad. I just constantly was wondering what was going through his head while making this movie. How could I not at this stage?
I mean, I always love original ideas and avant-garde, but this is like...
This was too much too fast.
This was this is a new version of hurting my brain.
It's way too bloated is the problem with it. It has too many ideas that it tries to explore, none of them well enough.
Yeah.
And it just kind of ends up falling flat. Again, for that reason, I think it has quote unquote value in the sense that I got entertainment out of making fun of it.
Yeah.
And it was definitely something funny to watch before I went to bed at night.
Yeah, at least it's not permanently owned.
No, definitely not. I don't think I would own this movie.
Some movies don't always have a rent option.
No. Yeah, that's fair. I don't think I would own this movie. Would I recommend Zardoz? If you're looking for something that will permanently turn off your brain just by thinking about it, well, here you go. That's this in a can. I mean, you've just heard the plot description and you've just been shut off this entire time.
Yeah.
So it achieved that goal.
Brain no worky.
Oopsie daisy.
Your fault.
It's my fault. It is my fault. I'm very sorry.
I'm the martyr to this crime.
Well,
I thought you were my friend.
I lied. We're still having fun.
Oh, yes.
I'm very sorry to the listeners and to you.
I was studying for finals before this, man.
I think you needed the break if you were studying for finals.
I didn't need it to be wiped out.
Oh, well. I regret nothing. We are going to take a quick break so that we can piece CJ's brain back together. When we come back, we will jump into the next movie.
Much needed.
Yes. We will see you then. 88.1 The Burg, your movie central. Welcome back to What to Watch Weekends. And for the last movie that we're going to be talking about tonight, we're going to change the pace up a little bit. Because we've been kind of jumping all over the place when talking about John Boorman. We've talked about, like, naturally Excalibur. We've talked about Deliverance with a bit more of a heavy topic. And then I allowed CJ's brain to melt into a nice little puddle of goo while talking about Zardoz. So
We never mention that movie ever again after this show.
I'm going to bring it up every single time I see you just to watch your brain melt. It's going to be very funny. Your facial expression is so funny to me. It's so very funny because you look so done with my nonsense. You're done with my nonsense, aren't you?
I'm gonna feed you to the ducks that go by our campus.
Okay. At any rate, we're going to change up the pace and talk about a movie that we've both seen at this stage.
Yes.
We watched it today.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it about, I want to say watching it today was either my fourth or fifth time seeing it in the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
It is the movie Point Blank from 1967, which is available to watch on Tubi currently. I should kind of just give the basic plot summary. We follow Walker, who is double-crossed by his friend Mal Reese. Both of them are criminals, and Mal drags in Walker into this scheme to rob a money drop-off on the island of Alcatraz in LA, and essentially then leaves Walker for dead to collect the money for himself and also run away with Walker's wife by the name of Lynn. So then Walker goes back to California to get his revenge. And if you've listened to my show before, you know I've talked about this multiple times, this movie many times. I really like this movie. And today was the first time you've ever seen this.
Yes.
And I think we'll kind of let you, I'll let you talk about it a little bit. What did you think of it?
It was fun. And I really love the death scenes. Those are hilarious. I was cracking up at those. And I think the ending is, yes, something else. But the rest
Definitely.
of the movie, really good. I love the color grading. I love the set design. I love most of the costuming.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
The dialogue in the beginning is a bit simple for me. I'm not gonna lie. But the acting is still pretty good. And then I think it just gets better as the movie goes on.
Right.
Both the writing and the dialogue and the acting. And the pacing, let me see. I think the pacing did get slow at some points, but it wasn't like distracting.
Right.
Especially for like someone who just watches not to review but just watches to watch. Like you're not going to notice it.
No.
But yeah, it definitely has a couple slower pacing moments that could have sped up. And the story, it does have a linear story, I will say. But I feel like there were points where it could have been a little more clear what was going on, or times where it didn't need to, like in the first like quarter of it, it did not need to be as descriptive as it was.
Right.
But then there were times in the last quarter where it's like, okay, what's going on? And it's not very clear with the camera work. It's not making it, you don't need to make it overt, but you still need to be able to communicate certain things to your audience. But overall, love the film. It was so funny. It was a hoot. And it was very fun to watch with you.
Very nice. Yeah. I can kind of see where you're coming from, because like I will say it's not like perfectly paced. I like the way it's paced out, and it's kind of needs breathers. And I will say dialogue ain't perfect, but I think the performances are what makes it work.
Oh, yeah.
I think like from the way you put it, it sounds like a lot of negative things, but those are kind of nitpicks. And the way
Yeah, those are smaller nitpicks.
Yeah. I'd say the way to look at Point Blank is, even if it's kind of just like, because it sets the precedent of being very good from the outset, whenever certain things aren't like perfectly up to the same standard, it's just kind of like you look for other stuff and you end up finding something to balance it out
Yeah.
with. Like, oh, this doesn't exactly have good dialogue, but the way
The sound design was really good in this film, though. I think the sound design definitely shines in this film. That marble, I'm not going to ever forget that marble, and I'm
Good.
going to be jealous for the rest of my life. I want that freaking marble like in my future home.
Those are two completely
And
different things.
Yes, but if you want to talk positives, marble is something that stands out for me personally, because I love design and stuff like that. And the Trojan horse line, best line in the movie.
Oh, yes.
Period. That came kind of out of nowhere, but in the best way possible.
Yeah.
It was so funny. I was dying.
Yes, I remember it. It's great. To kind of give some context, that the marble she's referring to is in the apartment that Walker's wife is living in, Lynn. After she runs away with Reese, she gets her own apartment in LA, and Walker runs there first to get his revenge. And he goes into the bedroom, and there's this very nice black and gold marble on the walls. It's a very
black stone gold detailing.
Yeah.
And they have a scene of, what was it, Lynn and her reflection on the marble as well, which was really conveying just her reflective state.
Yeah.
And a little on the nose, but not too on the nose for me, honestly.
Yeah.
And it has another on the nose somewhat scene of the broken mirror, and then they show them, and it's also at a Dutch angle somewhat. And again, not too on the nose. It's a type of on the nose where it's like, oh yeah, it's obvious what this is telling, but it doesn't take away from the film or the cinematography or the story at all.
No, definitely. And to give more context, the Trojan horse line, we follow basically after the opening scene with her, Lynn ends up dying, and Walker then kind of goes on a path to track down her sister. I believe Chris is her name.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So he goes to find Chris, and they end up going to Maurice's apartment, and he uses Chris as bait. He sends her up to his room so that they can engage in making love.
Do the devil's tango.
Yes. As it's very colloquially called. And then Walker gets up there, sneaks up there, and basically kills Reese in order to get his money back.
Oh, the Reese's death was so great too.
Because it looked... He basically falls off a balcony, and it's done with 1967 green screen technology.
It is the most beautiful thing. Oh my gosh. Just chef's kiss.
It looked awful, but yes, it was. It looked so cheesy and corny.
Awful in today's standards, but in a way that doesn't age poorly.
No. That's an interesting way of looking at it, but I'm not going to disagree.
Yeah.
The only thing that like detracts it from me is that you could see him kind of laying on the ground when he laying on the floor.
Yeah.
But when he lands on the ground, but it kind of works for that reason.
Yeah, his land is kind of just like...
It's a very land.
Yeah.
Now we've just evolved to making fart noises. Perfect. But basically after Reese dies, his boss, what?
The line, I still love it. It's just so good.
So Reese had this car dealer in his possession. He was like, this car dealer was one of his employees. And so the higher up of Reese, we're following here, it's pretty simple actually. The higher up of Reese is like, I told you guys to not let anybody into his room.
Especially Walker. Like they particularly didn't want him there.
Exactly. And they were like, but he said to let Chris in, and he's like, oh, he said to let Chris in. Did he? Well, you shouldn't have let her in. And then the car dealer turns to someone and he goes, she was the Trojan horse.
He was like, oh, she was the Trojan horse.
And then the higher up is like, what did you say?
What did he say?
And he's like, she was the Trojan horse. He says it really loud and
so defiantly. It's the delivery that makes the line, but even the line itself is just peak entertainment.
It is. That's the thing about that line to me is it's delivered by like obviously the most shrewd person.
Yes.
A car salesman. Like that character is super underrated because he only shows up for like 2 scenes.
Yeah, he's not there long.
Yeah, well, 4 of them, and I think the 5th one was his death.
Such a great death. All the death scenes are so funny in this film. It's just so great.
When you say funny, I think we should clarify. It's more so from the cheesy aspect of it being over the top and very high action for the 60s. Kind of funny,
like
not
60s gag type funny.
Yeah,
not as in, oh, funny, look, someone died.
Yes, we're not laughing because someone died. We're laughing at the way that they died in a 60s action movie.
Yeah, it's the way.
Yes, it's the way. I think this movie, I love the color grading specifically the most. I think that's the strongest, like the best strength of this film. I didn't even remember that they had like a blue cabinet in the bathroom of Lynn's apartment, and that kind of that like takes away one of my criticisms of like they should have had more blues in this movie.
You said it literally mid-watch. It was like, they need more blue.
Blue. And then they have like reds in there as well. Like they have the oranges, the yellows.
And the costume and set design color matching as well. Very intuitive.
Yes. Did you actually notice that the higher up who was in the office, when he's sitting in his chair and Walker barges in, he's got a gray suit and the chair is kind of a beige gray color?
Yeah.
That's also very nice because the walls around him are green and he gets thrown into these gray curtains.
Yeah, and it's not a color match overkill either. Some films I feel like it's like, whoa, there's a lot of yellow in this scene.
Yeah.
Here it's very well balanced and it's not overdone.
No.
And I think a big reason for that too is because they were on-site locations, presumably as well.
Oh, yeah.
So that was incredibly helpful.
Oh, yeah. And it adds to kind of this like pulpy, cartoony feel without it feeling
very much so. Yeah.
Without it feeling like too overblown.
Yeah.
Although there is one costuming choice that you did not like. So before you say it,
yeah,
we should back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, Walker has met Chris, the sister to his now dead wife Lynn. Yes. And he's using Chris to get to Reese. He's using her as a distraction so that he can get up there and make it not seem suspicious.
Yeah.
He also has other people tied up in an apartment across the way to just.
That thing was a dress.
We'll get to it. Almost there. He distracts the guards and he goes up there. Now, while Walker is doing the distraction, Chris gets up to the room that Mal Reese is in. And she takes off her overcoat, and she is wearing this dress that is a horizontally striped yellow and brown one-piece dress. CJ, what did you think of this dress?
You mean the banana vomit dress?
Yes.
I've seen someone, and I'm not exaggerating, her name is like Haley Bailey or something like that, on YouTube, make a dress out of a garbage bag, and it looked cute. And this dress in the film did that garbage bag dress a disservice. I think I just killed the host. Nathan is now Nathan is now
looks worse
beet red.
than a garbage bag.
Nathan is beet red. Dying. But yes, this dress is the ugliest thing I think I've ever seen. I mean, 60s fashion, 60s, 70s fashion did have some textiles and textures that just shouldn't have gone together. But this was like a new level, at least for me personally, of what the heck are you doing? That is literally the colors of what you do when you go to the bathroom. You don't need to pair those two colors together on a midi length long sleeve dress.
Horizontally striped.
That is horizontally striped with a belt, which is... and it was buttoned up, which made it worse because why would you have a yellow and brown button? Like, if it were all yellow, okay, fine, whatever. If it were all brown, okay, cute. But that thing was brown and yellow. That's like putting green and brown on a plaid skirt, but covering it in grayscale.
Yeah. I kind of see your point.
It's ugh.
Yes.
It looks like if American McDonald's food from the smallest towns was made into a dress.
You're not wrong at all.
Literally.
Yes, I can imagine it now.
It looks like burgers and fries put onto a dress with a bathroom color gradient. That's what that dress is. Look at it again and tell me I'm wrong, man.
I'm not going to tell you you're wrong.
Fight me.
I know. I'm agreeing with you. Listen, here's the thing. That does not ruin the movie for me at all.
No, it does not ruin the movie.
If anything, I'm going to laugh at that scene every time I watch it now, just thinking about how much you hate that dress. And if we ever watch it together again, I'm going to just point at it and go, look, it's the dress you hate. Isn't it great? I love that dress. I'm just going to do that to mess with you. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Yes. That garbage bag comment sent me. You know what else? So I'm going to do that. You know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to end the show.
Okay.
Because we have clearly lost it. And I think we all just need to go home and take a nap.
Yeah.
So thank you all for listening in to What to Watch Weekends. This is actually this is a great way to end it. This is the last What to Watch Weekends episode of the quarter and of the year.
Oh my goodness.
Of the year 2024, I should be more specific. The next time What to Watch Weekends will go on the air, it will be 2025. So,
man, 5 years away from 2030.
I'm not thinking that long term here. But yes, it will be on Saturday, probably the next week that What to Watch Wednesdays returns. So keep that in mind. And in terms of What to Watch Wednesdays, I will be running What to Watch Wednesdays this upcoming Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. here on 88.1 The Burg, as I tend to do. But that will be the last one for the year as well, and the last one for the quarter until 2025. So
crazy times.
Yes, crazy times. We'll be talking about Christmas movies to be in preparation for winter break.
Yay!
And I want to thank CJ for being on tonight and for being on this quarter. I hope to have you on as a guest more in the future.
Yes, love collaborating. As hectic as it gets and as it can become at the end of the day, genuinely, it is a very fun experience. And I'm so glad that we get to do this together and just share a brain cell collectively for a time.
Yes, it's been great. And yes, I think that's all I have to say. Follow What to Watch Wednesdays at What to Watch Wednesdays, all one word, no caps, no spaces. Check out the YouTube channel at What to Watch Wednesdays, all one word, no caps, no spaces. If you want to promote yourself one last time, and then we'll go. Yeah,
I'm Vintage Antiques Radio Show on Mondays from 4 to 5, and then also I do the 5 on Mondays as well, from 5 to 6 with Noah, who does Aloha Fridays from 2 to 3, I believe.
Yes, and that'll do it. I will be here in the next year here on What to Watch Weekends, telling you all what to watch. Good night, everybody. How do I end this? I don't know the button. Oh,
good luck with finals.